everyone. Welcome to my presentation on the New World Order, examining the World Order of Baha'u'llah, selections from Shoghi Effendi. The world's equilibrium hath been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this New World Order, Baha'u'llah. I created this presentation as a final project for the class that I took on Baha'u'llah's New World Order, translated and expressed by Shoghi Effendi, his great-grandson. I felt that it was important to share this knowledge that I gained with you to better your understanding of the importance of Baha'u'llah's message. This new world order is exactly what our world needs, and even more so now due to this crisis we are currently facing. Further ado, Order of Baha'u'llah, I will be elaborating on the following three: the goal of a new world order, America and the most great peace, and the unfoldment of world civilization. These letters were written in the middle of the Great Depression in 1931, when the world was trying to recover from World War I. The goal of a new world order. Shoghi Effendi says to the fellow believers in the faith of Baha'u'llah, the inexorable march of recent events has carried humanity so near to the goal foreshadowed by Baha'u'llah that no responsible follower of his faith, viewing on all sides the distressing evidences of the world's travail, can remain unmoved at the thought of its approaching deliverance. I find these opening words to be so powerful and should try to be memorized. Just like the beginning to the Declaration of Independence, Shoghi Effendi shows how important Baha'u'llah's words are in the context of creating a more peaceful and just society. Leaders must establish the cause for universal peace. You can best serve your country if you strive in your capacity as a citizen of the world to assist in the eventual application of the principle of federalism, underlying the government of your own country to the relationships now existing between the peoples and nations of the world. Abdul Baha. It is your responsibility as a citizen of the world to understand the importance that federalism, or the division of governance between federal and state, plays and how you can help assist in the eventual application of it on a worldwide scale. In cycles gone by, though harmony was established, yet owing to the absence of means, the unity of all mankind could not have been achieved. In this day, however, means of communication have multiplied, and the 5 continents of the earth have virtually merged into one. For none is self-sufficiency any longer possible, inasmuch as political ties unite all peoples and nations, and the bonds of trade and industry, of agriculture and education are being strengthened every day. Hence, the unity of all mankind can, in this day, be achieved. Abdul Baha. The goal of a new world order. Shoghi Effendi says to the fellow believers in the faith of Baha'u'llah, the inexorable march of recent events has carried humanity so near to the goal foreshadowed by Baha'u'llah that no responsible follower of his faith, viewing on all sides the distressing evidences of the world's travail, can remain unmoved at the thought of its approaching deliverance. I find these opening words to be so powerful and should try to be memorized. Just like the beginning to the Declaration of Independence, Shoghi Effendi shows how important Baha'u'llah's words are in the context of creating a more peaceful and just society. Leaders must establish the cause for universal peace. You can best serve your country if you strive in your capacity as a citizen of the world to assist in the eventual application of the principle of federalism, underlying the government of your own country to the relationships now existing between the peoples and nations of the world. Abdul Baha. It is your responsibility as a citizen of the world to understand the importance that federalism, or the division of governance between federal and state, plays and how you can help assist in the eventual application of it on a worldwide scale. In cycles gone by, though harmony was established, yet owing to the absence of means, the unity of all mankind could not have been achieved. In this day, however, means of communication have multiplied, and the 5 continents of the earth have virtually merged into one. For none is self-sufficiency any longer possible, inasmuch as political ties unite all peoples and nations, and the bonds of trade and industry, of agriculture and education are being strengthened every day. Hence, the unity of all mankind can, in this day, be achieved. Abdul-Baha. Humanity has evolved through globalization, and no country is self-sufficient anymore. The political, economic, and information-based systems of the world are interconnected, and we still are unable to see that by our nationalistic pride, humanity has not yet achieved the unity and oneness it needs to provide resources for all instead of hoarding them. We are closer than ever to achieving this peace on earth, but our competitiveness needs to end. The second goal, a world superstate. The inevitable curtailment of unfettered national sovereignty as an indispensable preliminary to the formation of the future commonwealth of all nations of the world. For legal standards, political and economic theories are solely designed to safeguard the interests of humanity as a whole, and not humanity to be crucified for the preservation of the integrity of any particular law or doctrine. So we are unable to achieve inner cooperation on a global scale when it comes to actual action in regards to lawful systems of government that help impoverished nations and end unnecessary wars. Unity and diversity. It represents the consummation of human evolution, an evolution that has had its earliest beginnings in the birth of family life, its subsequent development and the achievement of tribal solidarity, leading in turn to the constitution of the city-state, and expanding later into the institution of independent and sovereign nations. So we can achieve unity by understanding the role that our diverse creative selves have made. Our tribal solidarity, born for a need for community, is what our foundation rests upon. Our history as peoples show us the importance that unity has in creating a profitable society for all. And the principle of oneness. Let there be no mistake. The principle of the oneness of mankind is no mere outburst of ignorant emotionalism or an expression of vague and pious hope. It does not constitute merely the enunciation of an ideal, but stands inseparably associated with an institution adequate to embody its truth, demonstrate its validity, and perpetuate its influence. It calls for no less than the reconstruction and demilitarization of the whole civilized world, a world organically unified in all of the essential aspects of its life. It is also a solemn assertion that attainment to this final stage in this stupendous evolution is not only necessary, but inevitable, that its realization is fast approaching, and that nothing short of a power that is born of God can succeed in establishing it. So in order to achieve this oneness of mankind, not an idea to tout as unrealistic, the people need to reconstruct systems that help to elevate the conscious understanding and empower leaders to do more to help solve pressing issues that affect us all. We are at the verge of achieving it, but systematic changes need to happen fast because our time is limited. 5. The Federation of Mankind. That the forces of a world catastrophe can alone precipitate such a new phase of human thought is, alas, becoming increasingly apparent, that nothing short of the fire of a severe ordeal, unparalleled in its intensity, can fuse and weld the discordant entities that can constitute the elements of present-day civilization into the integral components of the world commonwealth of the future. is a truth which future events will increasingly demonstrate. Nothing but a fiery ordeal out of which humanity will emerge, chastened and prepared, can succeed in implementing that sense of responsibility which the leaders of a newborn age must arise to shoulder. Now, in order to create a more just world that works for all, we first need to create a federation that all of mankind can adhere to and be supported through representatives that care about the best interests of the people they work for. As the old structures fall, there will be turmoil, but through the ashes, the phoenix rises. Earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens. Baha'u'llah. Now to America and the Most Great Peace. To the beloved of the Lord and the handmaidens of the merciful throughout the United States and Canada, friends and fellow promoters of the faith of God, 40 years will have elapsed near the close of this coming summer since the name of Baha'u'llah was first mentioned on the American continent. Strange indeed must appear to every observer, pondering in his heart the significance of so great a landmark and the spiritual history of the great American Republic, the circumstances which have attended this first public reference to the author of our beloved faith. Stranger still must seem the associations which the brief words uttered on that historic occasion must have evoked in the minds of those who heard them. Abdu'l-Baha. Similar to the goal of a new world order, Abdu'l-Baha's introductory speech shows how the evolution of the Baha'i movement in America was so important. The destiny of America. May America become the distributing center of spiritual enlightenment and all the world receive this heavenly blessing. For America has developed powers and capacities greater and more wonderful than other nations. May the inhabitants of this country become like angels of heaven, with faces turned continually towards God. The American continent gives signs and evidences of very great advancement. Its future is even more promising, for its influence and illumination are far-reaching. It will lead all nations spiritually. Abdu'l-Baha. Now, a quote I say often, America is humankind's last hope, really rings true with what Abdu'l-Baha is alluding to when he addresses the American Baha'is. Thomas Jefferson, the co-author of the Declaration of Independence, gives us a message that should be taken very seriously. It is America's destiny to lead the world in this oneness of humanity that we desperately need. The pilgrimage. Nor does space permit me to narrate the circumstances attending the epoch-making visit of the first American pilgrims to Baha'u'llah's hallowed shrine to relate the deeds which signalize the return of these bearers of a newborn gospel to their native country, or to assess the immediate consequences of their achievements. Some of the first pilgrimages to see the holy places and meet Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Baha were paramount to spreading the importance of respect and admiration for the Baha'i faith. Their journeys were heavily documented, which helped to spread the Baha'i faith even more. It is also stressed to other American believers the importance of expressing your connection as an individual to the faith through a trip to the holy sites. The American believers. The tablets, which were subsequently revealed by the uttering pen of Abdu'l-Baha, embodying in passion and unequivocal language, his instructions and counsels, his appeals and comments, his hopes and wishes, his fears and warnings, soon began to be translated, published, and circulated through the length and breadth of the North American continent, providing the ever-widening circle of the first believers with that spiritual substance which should alone enable them to survive the severe trials they were soon to experience. Abdu'l-Baha's visit to America was a momentous occasion that had a profound impact on all who witnessed his words. The tablets of Baha'u'llah that Abdu'l-Baha spoke of helped to give structure and meaning to why Abdu'l-Baha came to America. He believed that the spiritual sustenance would help the American Baha'is get a deep understanding of what was to come. Then 2 years later, World War I had started. The Tablets of the Divine Plan, addressed to American Baha'is. The clarion call, or a demand or a request for action, which Abdu'l-Baha had raised, was a signal for an outburst of renewed activity, which, alike in the motives it inspired and the forces it set in motion, America had scarcely experienced. When Abdu'l-Baha shared Baha'u'llah's tablets, the divine plan he spoke of, it became ever so clear to the American believers. They then tried their best to influence their leaders to make necessary changes. Accomplishments of American Baha'is. Nothing short of the wholehearted assistance, whether moral or financial, which the American believers, individually and collectively, were moved to extend on several occasions to the needy and harassed among their brethren in Persia, could have saved these hapless victims of the consequences of the calamities that have visited them in the years following Abdu'l-Baha's ascension. It was the publicity which the efforts of their American brethren hath created, the protests they were led to make, the appeals and petitions they had submitted, which mitigated these sufferings and curbed the violence of the worst and most tyrannical opponents of the faith in that land. Who else, if not one of their most distinguished representatives, has risen to force upon the attention of the highest tribunal the world has yet seen? This American Baha'i force for justice helped to raise awareness of the persecution of the Persians, which greatly helped the faith and its fellow believers. Succeeded in securing, through patient and persistent effort, those written affirmations which proclaim the justice of a persecuted cause and tactfully recognize its right to an independent religious status. With the help of protesting and creating awareness, America was able to help get the Baha'i faith recognized as an independent religion with rights and protections. Have not the American adherents of the faith of Baha'u'llah, through the courage displayed by one of the most brilliant members of their community, been instrumental in paving the way for the removal of those barriers which have, for well nigh a century, hampered the growth and crippled the energy of their fellow believers in Persia? Fellow believers in the American continent, great indeed have been your past and present achievements. Immeasurably greater are the wonders which the future has in store for you. Fellow believers in the American continent, great indeed have been your past and present achievements. Immeasurably greater are the wonders which the future has in store for you. Her past has been a testimony to the inexhaustible vitality of her faith. May not her future confirm it? There is hope that America will be the place that helps to create this new world order. As we are seeing now, a lot needs to happen before this becomes a reality. The unfoldment of world civilization. The fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and his religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race. This is the straight path, the fixed and immovable foundation. I believe this quote summarized the letter very well. So what is needed to create this new world order? Shoghi Effendi outlines the exact things Baha'u'llah says we need to do to create this new world order. The establishment and commonwealth, a world legislator, in which all nations, races, creeds, and classes are closely and permanently united. Autonomy of its state members and the personal freedom and initiative of the individuals that compose them are definitely and completely safeguarded. Legislator, trustees of the whole of mankind control the entire resources of all nations, enact laws to regulate life, satisfy the needs and adjust the relationships of all races and peoples. An executive backed by an international force carries out decisions, applies the laws, and safeguard the organic unity of the whole Commonwealth. A world tribunal will deliver the final verdict in all disputes. Number 2, end to all wars, reduction in arms agreed on by all nations. National rivalries, hatreds, and racial animosity and prejudice will be replaced with racial enmity, understanding, and cooperation. The energy wasted on war will be put into technology to advance humankind. There will also be a world intercommunication system that will embrace the whole planet, which is freed from national hindrances and restrictions and functioning with marvelous swiftness and perfect regularity. There will be a world language in addition to the mother tongue, and it's to be invented or chosen from among the existing languages and taught in schools as addition to their mother tongue. There will also be a world script resource system developed and implemented in a world economy. A uniform and universal system of currency will simplify exchanges and understanding among nations and races of mankind. There will also be a reconciliation among science and religion. The two most potent forces in human life will be reconciled and will cooperate and harmoniously develop. A liberated free press. The expression of diversified views and convictions of mankind will not be influenced by contending governments and peoples. An equal distribution of resources. Economic resources will be organized, raw materials tapped and fully utilized, markets coordinated and developed, and distributions equitable, regulated. Oneness of religion. The causes of religious strife will be removed, economic barriers and restrictions will be abolished, and the inordinate distinction between classes will be obliterated. And finally, the extermination of disease, raising the standard of physical health. When war is ended, there will be more innovations and focus on health, ways to curb the exploitation of the planet's resources, and the furtherance of any other agency that can stimulate the intellectual, the moral, and spiritual life of the entire human race. Now, these are just the highlights of what Baha'u'llah proclaims in his New World Order. Shoghi Effendi then ends the letter with the question, who can measure the heights to which human intelligence, liberated from its shackles, will soar? Who can visualize the realms which the human spirit, vitalized by the outpouring light of Baha'u'llah, shining in the plenitude of its glory, will discover? Now, this is a great way to encourage those that read it to feel hope when there is so much hardship in the world. We have the blueprint on how to solve humanity's problems. Now we need to act. I will now go on to explain the role of the Universal House of Justice and the Nowruz letter that they wrote to the Baha'is to shed light on how they are continuing to spread hope during these turbulent times. The Universal House of Justice. Inasmuch as for each day there is a new problem, and for every problem an expedient solution, such affairs should be referred to the ministries of the House of Justice, that they may act according to the needs and requirements of the time. Baha'u'llah. This quote from Baha'u'llah explains the role that the House of Justice plays for the Baha'i faith. He helped shape how the Universal House of Justice will operate in his absence. The Universal House of Justice is the governing council of the Baha'i faith. It consists of a 9-member elected body that is voted in every 5 years. It was originally created to interpret the sacred text in an ever-evolving society. Baha'u'llah's way of ensuring the faith continued to fulfill his vision of world peace and unity. And the Constitution was adopted in 1972, 9 years in the making. A brief overview of the Universal House of Justice. And now to the Nowruz message from this year, March 2020. We are sure that you, like us, have felt great concern for the well-being of humanity, especially for those who are most vulnerable. Seldom has it been more evident that society's collective strength is dependent on the unity it can manifest in action, from the international stage to grassroots, and we know that you are giving your support to the essential services being made in this regard to protect the health and welfare of all. The world stands more and more in need of the hope and the strength of spirit that faith imparts. The elevated conversations that have occurred as a result, whether remotely or in person, have been a source of comfort and inspiration to many. Such efforts on your part provide a valuable service at this hour when many souls are perplexed and dismayed, unsure of what will be. However difficult matters are at present, and however close to the limits of their endurance, some sections of society are brought. Humanity will ultimately pass through this ordeal, and it will emerge on the other side with greater insight and with a deeper appreciation of its inherent oneness and interdependence. Now, these quotes go to show how much the world needs the hope that Baha'u'llah gives us, and what us Baha'is need to do to help spread it at a much faster rate than before, despite the challenges that this crisis has brought us. So how is the current crisis a yearning for this new world order? Here are a few reasons why I feel that this current crisis has exasperated the problems in our society. All right, we're going to go back. How is the current crisis a yearning for this new world order then? Here are a few reasons why I feel this current crisis has exasperated the problems in our society and what needs to happen to remedy them. A very similar way that Baha'u'llah explains in his unfoldment of a new world order plan. Our medical system is completely inadequate, specifically here in America. We need a Medicare for all system since healthcare is a human right. Our current income inequality is a major issue. We need to tax the 1% of the population that has as much wealth as the bottom half of the population. It will help to boost social programs and provide for more people in need. End the mass racism and violence that continues to prevail. It is systematic and creates an unjust society for minority populations. We need stronger laws for those that spread hatred. The government overreach through the use of the Patriot Act that protects the government from unlawful surveillance as well as instituting curfews is not okay. We need respect, and they need to provide for our people, and that is what our government was created to do. Nationalism is a prideful ignorance of the good that comes from cooperation. We are all one human family. We need more international programs to help connect us all. A corrupt press is one of the biggest things that needs to change. It spreads misinformation to create narratives that serve the rich. We need to promote independent media, enact laws that make corporations agree to let journalists be in control of what they wish to report for the benefit of society. Religious strife and war is the division of beliefs which distracts us from the primary goal of unity. World religions need to work together to engage their followers and unite in our common goal of creating a oneness of religion. We have a resource management problem. There's starvation when abundance is present, but cooperation to provide resources is absent. We need to create more organizations to distribute resources and make companies liable if they do not give away their excess for the needy. And finally, climate change is not political. Our planet needs to be treated with respect. Humankind will all perish if we do not work together to form energy systems that don't cause massive CO2 emissions. I believe that these are all important issues to discuss and hopefully fix as the younger generation comes into more leadership positions. So in conclusion, Every age hath its own problem, and every soul its particular aspiration. Be anciently concerned with the needs of the age you live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. Baha'u'llah, Gleanings. Here are some bullet points that help to express the main points of Baha'u'llah's New World Order and Shoghi Effendi's translation of it. Recapping now. Shoghi Effendi saw the importance of translating and expressing Baha'u'llah's New World Order writings for its inspirational content. Second, the federation of humankind is the way we need to govern, and America is proof that with struggle, we can continue to perfect the system that works for all. It will work for all. The American people can use their power to pressure their government to do more to help those in need, like they did when they helped to make the Baha'i faith a recognized religion. Through our grassroots ability, the Baha'i faith has started to create this world that Baha'u'llah speaks of through our desire for oneness. Through our grassroots ability, the Baha'i people have started to create this world that Baha'u'llah speaks of through our desire for oneness. And finally, by sharing what I have learned, I am educating people in the hopes they will use Baha'u'llah's words to motivate and educate others in a ripple effect way to reshape this beautiful world to benefit all people. Thank you all for watching, and I appreciate your comments below. And these are the references and bibliography that I have used in the creation of this presentation. If you would like to request any of these, please contact me and I will provide them for you. And thank you once again, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.